Hi, in this tutorial we're going to make a Terminator person in Gimp using layer masks. So we're going to learn about layer masks. I need a cutout of the Terminator head, so I'm going to use the scissors select tool, which is the equivalent of the magnetic lasso tool in Gimp. I actually quite like this tool in Gimp. I think it's one of the few tools that Gimp does better than in Photoshop. It finds edges. In this particular case I don't really need to be that fussy, like I don't really care that much. But the reason I like it, once I'm finished, if I go back to the beginning, it'll make that double link icon, so I'll click on that and it finishes. But the reason I like it is you can move these edges around to tweak it, which you can't do in the Photoshop. To finish it, when I go in the middle, it makes that icon rather than that, and I'll just double click and I've selected it. That's good enough. I don't really need it to be that good. I will edit copy, if I can see edit, there it is, edit copy, and I don't need this Terminator dude anymore. Do it, save, and I'm going to make this woman into the Terminator. So edit, paste as, new layer. And there's my Terminator dude. I'll use the move tool, just move him closer to the face, zoom in a bit. Sorry, it's a bit clumsy with a small window. And I will reduce the opacity to about half so I can sort of see what I'm doing. This is one aspect I'm not a big fan of Gimp, and that's when resizing and rotating things. So I'm going to rotate this and resize it. The reason is it doesn't do it as well as Photoshop. As much as I like saying it does things as well as Photoshop, in this case it doesn't. To keep the aspect ratio, what I'm doing is holding down Control. So what I mean by aspect ratio is not making it fatter and thinner. Most programs will use Shift. For some reason they chose to use Control in this one. So, and you can see that it doesn't make it see-through as well, which again is annoying. I'll just OK that, and I'll just rotate it a bit as well. Oops, didn't want to rotate again. I'll just move it, check how close I've got it. It needs to be a bit smaller. So every time I do this, rotate it and scale it, I'm actually damaging it a bit. So ideally I only really want to do it once. Like I don't want to do it as often as I'm doing in this, but the way this one works, it kind of forces me to do it a few times to get it right. Anyway, that looks close enough. So I will turn the opacity back up and I will add a layer mask. So I'm going to right click and add layer mask. What that does is it creates a mask over the top, like I think in the old days you'd put a piece of paper over the top so that you couldn't paint on parts of the picture. In this case we're making a software version of that. So the black is see-through, the white is not see-through. So I'm going to grab a black paintbrush. Yeah, whoops, cancel that. I'm going to have it on a low opacity. And if you're in Photoshop you'd use flow rate, but in this you use opacity and you make it incremental. And what that means is it'll do a little bit and then I'll do it again, like it'll do it bit by bit, which is how you want to do it. And basically I'm just going to paint over the bits that I don't want. And I'm not damaging it, like I'm not actually, as much as I am getting rid of the Terminator dude and getting the woman to come through, the Terminator dude is still there, it's just being hidden. I didn't quite match up that mouth perfectly, but there you go. So I'm just going to play around with it, get to some stage that I like it. And because it's a mask and I'm not deleting it, I can actually just swap to white and paint bits back in that I want. So maybe I want an eye back in there. Yeah, that'll do. And there you go. That's how I did the Terminator